This bill does is it changes the immunization reminder information system from the opt-out back to the opt-in that it was originally instituted as. In 1999, that was when it was added as an opt-in to Idaho state statute. It addressed childhood immunizations, childhood only, that's what the statute says. In 2010, there was a Senate bill that changed it from opt-in to opt-out, which means everybody's automatically entered into the system potentially without their knowledge, and that's what happened to me in my case. What I found was that I had initially opted out when my children were younger, because it was prior to 2010, and then when 2010 happened, they were opted in without my knowledge or permission to the state data collection system. I didn't find that out until I went for a series of vaccinations for one of my kids. So I was one of those moms, a lot of you will not be surprised, that is pretty OCD about keeping track of my kids' medical records. And I had my little yellow card, and I went to go get a vaccination, the second in a series, and then was told, oh wait, this is the first one, because they had not recorded it in the system. And that's how I found out that my child was even in the system. No notice, it was just an opt-out. And so I had opted out early without opting in, but they went ahead and opted me in.
Bring smallpox
in
back,
2017,
back,
because I was, well, in 2017, we also tried to add adults to this statute. Now keep in mind, it was initially for children, right? Kids data on immunizations only. In 2017, with House Bill 91, they tried to include adults. That bill failed. In 2018, I showed up and tried to get a parental notification so that you knew that you had to opt out every time you got an immunization. That passed the House, died in the Senate in committee. Actually, didn't even make it to a hearing in committee. Then in 2021, during COVID, House leadership sent a letter because what was happening was the Department of Health and Welfare was collecting all data, not just kids anymore, all data, adult data as well. And it wasn't within their statutory authority, but they did it anyway. House leadership with Senate leadership, we all sent a letter and we were denied, and they continued to collect the data. The reason that they had changed this initially in 2010 from an opt-in to an opt-out, the excuse that was given was that it's going to improve childhood immunization rates. That was what we were told. Well, I'm telling you, in 2024, where we sit right now, immunization rates continue to drop for children. It had absolutely zero effect on childhood immunization rates. Yeah. So from 2019 to 2020, we had an 86.5 immunization rate among kids under 13. And please keep in mind, that was the original target of this system, right? Immunization rate for children. It also dropped to 80.2% in 2021 and 22. IRIS has zero effect on childhood immunizations. What it does have an effect on is the government is collecting your data without your knowledge. Yeah. That's what's happening.
Yeah,
it is not a transparent process. You only have the ability to opt out if you know how to do it. You have to go online, you have to know that you've been opted in, and then you have to fill out the form to opt back out. That's why I'm bringing this bill. It should be an opt-in process. This should be transparent. I think with all of the news stories that we've heard over time about data collection, you should at least know that the government's collecting your data. And right now, that's not the situation we're in. So, Mr. Speaker, this is probably more than I've talked in a long time on a bill, but I would really appreciate your green light.
It's not fun to have polio.
Heard the motions. Further debate on the motion. Good lady 30.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To debate in favor of the bill.
Lady has the floor to debate in favor of the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I sincerely appreciate this bill, and I would like to add my support to the good lady. My kids get opted back in every time I go in for an immunization, and then you have to go through the work of opting out. That's a deterrent. So this is a great bill.
Yeah, 1.1 million people died in the United States. 17% of all the deaths from COVID.
Question is, should House Bill 397 pass the House?
Of the population, that's 17% of the COVID deaths.
Speaker will pull back. Good lady from 17.
To debate the bill.
Good lady has the floor to debate the bill.
Thank you. As a mother, I rely heavily on my kids' electronic medical records, including IRIS, to make sure I'm on track and that they're on track. And for accuracy, I don't want this knowledge to be bouncing around in my head or on a paper. Currently, it's easy for the minority of families who choose to opt out to do so, and in fact, fewer than 1,000 have chose to do that since 2010. We don't need to be spending the estimated $10 million that would be spent to change this system to accommodate this small population. And the reality is that this change would actually weaken our already debilitated health systems. We've heard from providers that this would be an undue burden on them and their administrative staff. We're already facing a shortage of providers in the state, and particularly in our rural communities, and we don't need to be making their jobs any harder. And the reality is this change will have very real consequences. For example, my father-in-law, Jerry, uses a wheelchair as a result of polio infection as a child.
Oh, yeah.
The U.S. eradicated polio in 1994, but this was a 40-year battle. And the U.S. may have eradicated it, but there are 12 countries that have not. And it is very possible that in the near future, we will see a resurgence of this or any other communicable diseases in our country because of our low vaccination rates. Repeatedly kneecapping our public health system is going to come back to bite us. And I ask you to please ask for your red light on this bill.
Hooray, hooray.
The speaker would remind our good friends not to read your debate. Is there further debate on the motion? Gentleman from 11.
Question for the good lady from 8.
Good lady from 8, you have the question.
Lady yields.
Lady yields.
Good lady, in this legislation, does this apply retroactively? Would this require them to clean this up, or is this from today forward kind of situation?
Good lady from 8.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is from when it's enacted. There's no retroactive cause. So that's true. If you have already opted your child in and want the government to keep track of your immunization records, this wouldn't affect that at all.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Gentlemen, further debate on the motion. Lady
Welcome
from
to
19.
Idaho.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, to debate the bill.
Floor to debate the bill.
Thank you.
I'm from Idaho. I was
This
born and
system
raised
is really helpful to kids, families, and providers. It helps reduce duplicative immunizations because it's one source that providers can go to find out if a kid's already gotten a vaccination. If we don't have to give a kid a vaccination twice, that reduces healthcare costs. It reduces stress for parents. The current system is an optimal default. We're creating a good system that parents don't have to worry about. They don't have to fill out a form to opt into this system that when they had to do this, 95% of them did it because they wanted it, and it was beneficial. The bureaucratic tape that we're putting into healthcare delivery systems by making this opt-in is going to be costly and burdensome. This means your small, rural pediatric office is going to have to set up two different systems, a system for kids who are just going to be an iris, and then a whole other system to track the immunizations for all of those other kids. They're going to have to set up the waiver, the sign-in system that the parents are going to have to go through to opt in. This is just it's an optimal default. If people want to if they want to opt out, they can opt out. But the other benefit is that we don't know, if we don't know in an area how many kids are immunized and then an infectious disease comes in, we don't know how to respond. If we know that 99% of the kids are vaccinated and it's no problem, then we don't have to worry about it. There's herd immunity, but we need to have a much different kind of a response if an infectious disease breaks out that's vaccine preventable, and 57% of the kids. The weakness of, I think the potential weakness of IRIS is bad for keeping kids just healthy and fighting disease. Let's remember why we have vaccinations in the first place. My mother's a polio survivor. I don't want to go back to that world where kids couldn't get access to things that will keep them alive. So I urge your red light.
Thank you, ladies. Further debate on the motion. Hearing none. Debate is closed. Would the good lady from 8 care to close the debate?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would just note that if you want the government to collect your data, They will gladly do it for you if you opt in. Every time. If you want them to have information about you, you're welcome to give them your information. What this is about is making sure that you know where your data is going. That's what it is, pure and simple.
Never been in the military.
It should, we shouldn't be afraid to make people's jobs harder so a system is transparent. You should know what you're doing. You should know where your medical data is going. And like I said before, if you want to opt into this system, that's just fine. If you want your kids' information on a government database, great, knock yourself out. What this does is makes the system transparent and gives parents a choice in what they want to participate in. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I'd love your green light.
My
Thank you,
grandkids.
good lady. Debate is closed. Question is, House Bill
Every other
397
kid.
pass out. Clerk will lock the machine and members cast their votes. Has every member voted? Representative Handy. Gannon. Same rest change their vote. Clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. 56 ayes, 11 nay, 3 absent, and excused. Majority having voted in favor of House Bill
I
397.
had polio. Let me tell you something. What they did was
Correction
irresponsible.
title.
No correction to title.
Hearing none, the title is approved. The bill will be transmitted to the Senate.